Hello everyone. This is not something I do at all, but after having played Genshin Impact for many years I have truly never seen such a clown fiesta like the one surrounding Columbina and her characterization. So here, I'm doing my part, and making this an attempt at a definitive video to address how her character was not retconned, and how she is actually good, and not waifu bait. First, some disclaimers, because God knows that any video talking about a Hoyoverse game needs it. I have played Genshin since 2021. I always liked Columbina, and I consumed any fan content of her like a squirrel stuffing nuts in its mouth. I love Stairway to Heaven. I watched it again after I saw Backrooms last month, and wow, it is such a good standalone animation. Anyway, when I first saw that Winter Nights Lazo trailer, you bet I latched onto Columbina and Arlecchino like a rat in a glue trap. I also thought Sandrone was cool with her robot butler, rest in peace Miking, and Pantalone was hot in an evil Baijuwa kind of way. Work. I definitely shipped him and Otore based on those 2 frames we had of them, haha. And lo and behold we were right, #Otolone. What was I talking about again? Oh right, Columbina. I didn't know what to expect with Columbina based off of that trailer, but I knew that she was pretty, and she could sing, and she seemed to be close with Rosaline, because of how she was positioned over her coffin. My sweet angel, she was mourning her very openly. I guess some people thought Columbina was acting creepy, and I can understand how you came to that conclusion, but nothing was set in stone. And that is going to be a sentiment I express again and again in this video. When we see unreleased characters in trailers, or hear about them in voice lines from other characters, nothing is set in stone. Most of the time, nothing is even really explicitly said. Hoyoverse is very good at showing a lot of stuff, but ultimately conveying not a lot of information. This is both a good and bad thing, I think. So from that trailer we understood that Columbina could sing, was close in some way with Rosaline, and had long hair and dove motifs in her design. She was definitely the damselette, rank number 3, which would later be confirmed when the Hoyoverse accounts posted about the Harbingers. Now here comes everyone's favorite part, the voice lines. Oh my god, the voice lines. First I want to say I think many of you do not understand the narrative purpose of the character voice lines. They are, in simplest terms, what a character thinks about another character. That is it. It is not meant to be taken at face value as a reliable definitive objective view of what a character is like. It is simply what character A thinks of character B. Maybe character A is biased in some way, and thus their view of character B is skewed. Maybe character A is not at all close with character B, and so their view is superficial or based on rumors and assumptions. With Columbina, I think that was definitely the case. She was mysterious and aloof, and even with the girlies they didn't really know a lot about her. So I'm sure to the boys she was even more weird and closed off. And given her ranking of number 3, it's no wonder they thought she must be secretly dangerous, or what have you. On that note, let's finally dive into the voice lines. I will be going over what we could interpret from them at that time, as well as concluding how accurate they are to the Columbina we know today. First up is Tartaglia, the golden boy.
The Fatui Harbingers are ranked by strength, and I have no idea why that girl is number 3. I'd test my skills with every Harbinger who ranks above me if I had the chance. But when it comes to her, something just doesn't feel right. Anyway, you should be careful around her.
So, first he said that the Harbingers are ranked by strength, which by the way is already vague. Is it purely physical strength? Or is it a mix of physical strength as well as influence? Because how is Mr. I have no vision, but I have fat stacks of cash ranked number 9. Anyways, from this information we could infer that Columbina must have had some special kind of power. Given her appearance as an angelic young woman we knew she likely did not possess physical power, but maybe elemental or a secret third thing. Then Tartaglia says it doesn't feel right to want to test his skills against her. This is probably because of what he literally just said about that girl somehow being ranked number 3. She looks so innocent, yet she is ranked so high. Tartaglia mainly fights in physical combat, not in wizard wars, where everyone is throwing fireballs at each other, so of course he would not want to engage in a physical fight with an angelic magic wielding girl. Especially because he is an Oni-chan, he has a younger sister, of course he would not want to fight to the death against a cute girl. That's just messed up. I think people took his phrase "something just doesn't feel right" to mean that Columbina had mind control powers and can make Tartaglia not want to fight her, because everyone knows Tartaglia loves to fight and would never pass up a fight with anyone. Which, lol, okay. Anyway, he ends the voice line by saying to be careful around her. People also took this to mean that Columbina has mind control powers, which is why we should be careful around her. Now look, I think it's okay to try to predict things or make up headcanons based on vague information like this, but you need to curb your expectations when it comes to the real deal. Obviously Hoyoverse can't make every character voice line into an essay with disclaimers about what the character explicitly means. But you can't use these voice lines as evidence that Columbina was supposed to be XYZ when literally nothing is explicitly stated in terms of what her powers are. Tartaglia doesn't know. He just knows that Columbina doesn't look like a fighter. He understands power in terms of physical combat prowess, so of course Columbina and her rank is an enigma to him and makes him wonder what she is secretly capable of. But none of that proves that she was really a demonic fallen angel from a creepypasta horror game and that she was supposed to have mind control powers to make us eat Paimon. Anyways, moving on to Wanderer.
Let me ask. What should you do if you were to encounter a damsel who is oblivious and innocent at any given time, and unconcerned and unfeeling in any given situation? If it were me, I could at least challenge her to a fight. But if it were you, with your conscience, I would stay away from her.
Looking at this now, you can probably see how people ran with the idea that Columbina is creepy and can control people's minds. Especially with the phrase "with your conscience, I would stay away from her." A lot of people thought Wanderer was saying that the traveler has a weak will and can be easily controlled by Columbina. I think that was laughably untrue even back then. Wanderer of all characters know that the traveler is not easily swayed. He knows how strong we are. He literally fought against us when he was in a giant Gnosis-powered robot. And we won. What he meant was that we have a moral compass. We do not fight cute girls. It's literally the same logic as the Tartaglia voice line. Wanderer is just saying that Columbina is aloof and has her head in the clouds, so we might not feel willing to fight her. Which is literally true, and was not retconned at all. Anyway, he ends the line with telling us again to stay away from her, and you bet people took this and ran with it. Like, oh my god, if Wanderer of all people is telling us to stay away from her, then she must really be a freak. I don't know, you guys, I think you are just making stuff up and acting like it's explicit when it isn't even implied at best. Wanderer is a notorious hater, so I think him telling us to avoid one of his old co-workers is nothing special. This voice line conveys about the same information as Tartaglia's voice line, maybe even less. Finally, onto Daddy, I mean Arlecchino.
She is a very special harbinger. Pose her a question, and the answer you receive will be entirely unpredictable, if she sees fit to give a proper answer at all. Regardless, any answer you do receive is sure to be an interesting one.
Swoons. Oh my god, her voice is so hot. I mean, ahem, anyways. As much as I love this voice line, it also conveys very little information. At least from this, we know that Arlecchino actually talked to Columbina and had a closer bond to her than either Tartaglia or Wanderer did. Interestingly, despite Arlecchino being number 4, she does not talk at all about Columbina's power or ability to handle the fight. She is more concerned with Columbina's words and how she sees the world around her. Anyway, literally everything in this voice line is true to the Columbina we know today. She is indeed very special, as she is a moon goddess. And she also has unpredictable and sometimes unfitting answers to things. Either way, it's fun to talk to her, just to see what she says. Alakino knew what was up. That's my daddy. Or maybe our daddy, I don't mind sharing. So, there you have it. That was literally all we knew about Columbina before the Not Cry era began. To summarize what we knew about her, she is ranked number 3, so she must have some special power or influence. She is aloof, oblivious, and seemingly innocent. She can give strange and unpredictable answers to things. And she can sing. With this, I hope you can understand how ridiculous it is to claim that Columbina and her personality was retconned. It was not. All of those qualities I just listed about her are still true to her current character. Some of you just got attached to those Hoyo Fair animations and you are disappointed that they were not accurate to the canon character. Which, to be clear, I think is a valid thing to feel. Those animations were cool. It's okay to be disappointed that we didn't get more of those vibes. But to claim that this was the intended characterization for Columbina from the beginning? That is straight up delusional, and not at all supported by the trailer or the voice lines we had of her. Being disappointed is one thing, but trying to act like you know more than the author is another. People might say, well, why would Hoyoverse approve of those animations if they weren't close to canon? And I have to take a moment to laugh. Ha. Ha 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 ha. Hoyo fairs are about fan creativity and freedom. Of course Hoyoverse is more lenient with depictions of things that aren't canon. I hope I don't have to point to all the other ridiculously non-canon stuff we got in past Hoyo fairs to make my point. So, now that that's out of the way, why don't we address the other thing that's been bugging me about how people speak on Columbina's character? They accuse her of being waifu bait, of the Not Cry story being power of friendship slop. Well then, I don't know how to tell you this any other way, so I'll just say it. Hoyo games and their stories are weenie hut juniors. The stakes are often raised very high, just for not much to be lost in the end. The good guys always prevail. There aren't really a lot of dark themes or terrible things that happen which are outright explicit in the arc and quests. But I think that this has been made very apparent over the years. I don't know why people keep expecting Hoyoverse to completely shift the tone of their games, but it happens again and again. XYZ character will definitely die in the story, oh my god, and then nothing happens. I know everyone and their grandmother is still traumatized by Final Lesson, but it's been how many years since that? Anyhow, I think there's pros and cons to this approach in storytelling. First, obviously Hoyoverse is aiming for lighthearted conclusions in their stories. They want to tell stories of love and the power of friendship prevailing. I think this is good. I love Sailor Moon and One Piece, so maybe I'm biased, but that isn't to say I don't enjoy a darker story. I just won't look to a Hoyoverse game for a darker story. And if I want a creepypasta analog horror character, I will not look to a Hoyoverse game for it. Stairway to Heaven is an amazing animation and I watch it often because of how well made it is, but I knew that Hoyoverse would never make something like this themselves. It does not fit the tone and mood of Genshin Impact. I don't even know how they would implement a character like creepy Columbina. What, was she supposed to be creepy at the start and then become our friend? That sounds exactly like all the critiques people have of the far too we already. Everyone is whining about how the Harbingers seemed like a league of supervillains and now they're all besties with us, or whatever. Which isn't true by the way, lol, but I'm going to move on before I get sidetracked. Anyways, let's imagine if creepy Columbina was real. If she stayed creepy and was antagonistic towards us, then she probably would have had to be defeated, which meant she couldn't be playable. But everyone wants her playable. Then, I don't know how you could have had the creepypasta character who is also playable without completely ruining the creepypasta part. You all should have known by now that outright villains will not be playable. They made Tartaglia likable without ruining his essence. They made Wanderer likable without ruining his essence. I know many will disagree with me about that, but I don't care. I hope they will make Dottore playable without ruining his essence. #lizard theory. But how do you make a creepypasta analog horror entity into a likable gacha character without ruining the essence of that character? I don't know. To be clear, I think it's fine to keep exploring this creepy aspect in fan works. I still love depictions of Columbina that are eerie and haunting and creepy. There is a lot of loneliness in her backstory which can fuel creepy concepts. I support creativity in fan works. But I also think the story we got with her in Not Cry is beautiful, and to reduce her to waifu bait is honestly just misogynistic. Yep, I use the big M word. I will say it again, I think a lot of criticism and hate against Columbina is just misogyny. She is close with the Traveler, yes, but in the game that is only ever expressed in explicitly platonic ways. Of course you can ship Columbina with your Traveler if you want, but that is not at all meant to be taken as a canon interpretation. It is nowhere near the level of romantic push as Citlali or Ayaka. If you think Columbina is waifu bait then you are just a weirdo. Female characters can be close with male characters without it being romantic. And Columbina has precious bonds with everyone else in the Not Cry cast. We see her embrace Lorma and Sandrone. Twice. Don't even get me started on Sandrone, oh my god. Columbina is not waifu bait, but maybe if your name is Sandrone the marionette Guillotin then she is waifu bait for you. Hashtag Sandbina, hashtag Dovedoll, hashtag Uria's love, Uria's life. Anyways, I won't go over Columbina's entire story, but I will say it's a touching story of someone who had never known real love and admiration. People only loved the moon goddess, they only worshipped the moon goddess. They asked her for blessings again and again. Columbina never knew true companionship, and she didn't have a strong sense of self, because of the expectations and godly identity her worshippers forced onto her. Even in the Fatui she was used for her moon goddess powers, and was only given a high rank because of them. In the Not Cry story, we see her become her own person. We see her form friendships that show her what it means to be loved. And from this, we see her finally fight for her own life, a life she actually wants to have. Not an isolated life as the moon goddess, or the damselette, but a fulfilling life as a girl named Columbina Hipposolenia. Who just so happens to be the tri-lunar goddess, because she's cool like that. These are exactly the kinds of stories Hoyoverse wants to tell. Uplifting stories of friendship and stuff like that. It is very Weenie Hut Juniors, but that's okay. The outside world is scary, and they want their games to be a kind of escape from that. I think stories about the power of friendship, where everyone lives in the end, are important, and they have a place in gaming and literature in general. If you want mouth-washing, or backrooms or other creepy stories, then sure you can enjoy those. Yes, those are the first two examples I could think of. And I enjoy those too. But I won't expect these kinds of stories from a Hoyoverse game. They do it sometimes in their world quests, but those are very text-based and often don't involve playable characters. It's easy for them to put those darker things there which only the lore heads will pay attention to. But for the main arc and quests they like to end things with a light-hearted family-friendly conclusion. So anyways, yeah, I think it was silly for people to have expected the creepypasta analog horror Columbina stuff to be real. Come on guys. All of the top comments on the Stairway to Heaven animation are depressing and annoying. You all somehow lost chess to a dog, but the dog wasn't even there playing chess with you, you just imagined it. And the Columbina we got is beautiful and her story is heartwarming. So if you reduce her to just waifu bait then you missed the point of her story and you are probably illiterate, and I hate you. This is my first time making a video like this, so if you enjoyed it please leave a like. I might make more like this in the future, because I'm very opinionated and have many opinions. In addition to Genshin, I also play HSR and ZZZ, so if you want a video about topics from those games then let me know. Thanks for watching, and have a good day. May you win all your future 50/50s.